Nostalgia rules. Cherished memories of the past is something that makes humans human. It's one of those little things that divides us from the animals. That and washing our hands after having a shit. And video games can be incredibly nostalgic. Those blissful memories of tearing open a Christmas gift to the shock and surprise of a new games console. The delight and joy of receiving a new game from your loved ones on your birthday. The rush of happiness when your favorite genre finally gets a sequel. Video games are nostalgic stuff. But sometimes nostalgia can be a little bit sad. Sometimes memories can remind you of a feeling that's disappeared. A reminder of someone who's gone. That numb feeling of better times. Or as you guessed, since this is an RPG-based channel, RPGs that are for all intents and purposes dead. So join me, Richard from RPG Fortress, on this short journey of 7 spiritual successors to classic RPGs to look forward to. Suikoden was a long-running RPG series that found success primarily across the PlayStation and PlayStation 2. This series was known for its deep political storyline, immense cast of recruitable characters, and incredible soundtracks. This series was one of the big RPG series of the PS1, PS2 era. Suikoden 2 is one of the most acclaimed RPGs ever released. As time marched forward, the games arguably got less good, with games like Suikoden 4 and Suikoden Tearcrease being considered less than great. The series quietly died away along with Konami and all of their other games series. Enter Eiyuden Chronicle: 100 Heroes. The game was announced as a spiritual successor to the long-dead Suikoden series and actually includes ex-Konami staff members, including Yoshitaka Murayama himself, the creator of the Suikoden series. The game was announced a few years back and is getting close to release here in 2023. All signs point towards this game being just what us Suikoden fans wanted. A huge, colorful world full of political machinations, a huge cast of characters, great music, and systems directly inspired by Suikoden. The game's existence is proof that nostalgia is a total force of nature. It's also ironic that this spiritual successor inspired Konami to re-release Suikoden 1 and 2. 2023 is setting up to be an incredible year for us Suikoden fans. Chrono Trigger is one of the greatest and most beloved games of all time. Released during the golden age of RPGs on the SNES by a dream team of RPG greats, Chrono Trigger somehow both broke the mold of old RPGs, all the while embracing what made the genre great. It was heralded as a triumph back in the day and is still heralded as a triumph today, boasting a remarkable story about time and sacrifice, charming and engaging characters, a well-realized world, a beautiful and expansive soundtrack, and gameplay that is just fun. The game received a sequel a few years later in the form of Chrono Cross, a game whose legacy is much more skewed than Trigger's, but since then the Chronoverse, is that a thing, has been silent. Sea of Stars is an upcoming indie RPG that is going to attempt to pick up and don the crown of Chrono Trigger's spiritual successor, and it looks like it might actually be able to do so. With a gorgeous world that is ripe for exploration, a large cast of colorful characters, and a soundtrack written by Yasunori Mitsuda himself, Sea of Stars is shaping up to be a hell of a game regardless if it's Chrono Trigger 2 or not. Even if it doesn't quite hit these lofty heights, all signs point towards that this is going to be a standout RPG nonetheless. A number of Chrono Trigger inspired games have been delivered previously, but this one looks like it might actually tick all the boxes. Once upon a time, there was an RPG series called Wild Arms. What made this series special was its Wild West inspired world. The game series enjoyed a solid run of 5 mainline titles and a remake between the PS1 and 2, along with an SRPG spin-off on the PSP. Wild Arms was and is loved for its unique take on swords and sorcery in 6 shooters. The games include big worlds, fun characters, and catchy soundtracks. The first game hit just before Final Fantasy VII ushered in the golden age of RPGs proper, potentially shining a little golden light on itself. It was a series that hit just when RPGs were getting huge worldwide, but the series ultimately petered out with Wild Arms 5 towards the end of the PS2's lifetime. Announced by Aria Entertainment and Studio Wild Rose a little under a year ago alongside another game that we're going to get to in a moment as a double Kickstarter. What the f does that actually mean? Armed Fantasia promises to pick up where Wild Arms left off. Showcasing a dusty desert world full of monsters to fight and treasures to find, Armed Fantasia has the Wild West flavor that we've been missing out on ever since the end of the Wild Arms era. I am ready to once again pick up my pea shooter and pew 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 my way across the wasteland. Armed Fantasia is definitely going to fill a niche that has been achingly empty for years. Shadow Hearts, including its predecessor Kodelka, is an RPG series based around the supernatural, cosmic horror, and alternate history. Being influenced by Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos and real-life events, Shadow Hearts carried a very unique and interesting vibe. This series is a cult favorite that, once again, ended up passing on after the PS2 was laid to rest. Familiar story so far, isn't it? Die-hard fans have been clamoring for a return for years, but this series is dead. Here comes Studio Wild Rose to announce Pennyblood, the Shadow Hearts spiritual successor. It was announced alongside Armed Fantasia at the aforementioned double Kickstarter. Pennyblood offers up a dark and brooding atmosphere in what is sure to be a memorable romp through 1920s New York. Enemy units are shambling, ugly mounds of hate and terror. While details are scant right now, the previews give off that Shadow Hearts vibe that is surely to give longtime fans a memorable experience. Breath of Fire is dead. Once the mighty Capcom's flagship RPG series, Breath of Fire has been gone since the PS2 days, save for a brief foray into the mobile market, which we don't talk about. Starting on the Super Nintendo and winding its way through the years onto the PS1 and then the PS2, Breath of Fire has had a great run. The first 4 games are all in my list of favorite games of all time. Colorful worlds, incredible characters, great music, and lots of dragons. Breath of Fire was a series synonymous with early console JRPGs. Fans have been clamoring for a sequel for years, once again pretending Breath of Fire 6 on mobile never happened. Indie RPG Tears of Magic looks to be the closest we'll ever get to a new Breath of Fire game. Boasting a story steeped in dragon-themed mythology, bright and vibrant characters, a beautiful world, and some gosh darned fishing. I know I am stoked as hell to get my hands on this title. The dev seemingly knows what they're doing as well, as the Kickstarter preview even mentions a blue-haired hero. I've got high hopes for this one. If the cast is even half as unique and colorful as BOF2, I will be a very happy person to play this. Skies of Arcadia is a JRPG that is almost mythical at this stage. A JRPG with a unique premise that was released on a doomed company's final console. Skies of Arcadia has been relegated to near legend for years. Following a crew of sky pirates in a magical world comprised of floating islands, Skies of Arcadia was one of the Dreamcast's crowning achievements. The game received a GameCube port that was well received, and the main characters appeared in Valkyria Chronicles, but this game was essentially a one-off. Fans have been clamoring for a sequel for years, but you know Sega. Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire is an upcoming indie RPG for PS5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch, and PC that seemingly picks up where Skies left off. A huge world above the clouds, colorful characters and locales, and sky-based combat leave me excited and wanting more. Sega RPGs have a special place in my heart, so getting a game that has been so obviously inspired by those games and made by fans who love those games as much as I do has my anticipation levels blasting through the roof. Mega Man Legends was and is a fondly remembered action-adventure/RPG adjacent title that appeared on the PS1. The game had a sequel and a spin-off, but the series has been silent since the PS1 days. Taking the Mega Man aesthetics and mixing them with a more action-adventure style, large explorable environments, and lots of side content hits pretty hard. These games have a huge cult following who have been actively invested in a continuation for years. This is where Keiji Inafune and his Kickstarter team come in. While leading up to the release of Mighty No. 9, Inafune and his crew announced that they were also working on a Mega Man Legends spiritual successor called Red Ash. And this is where that story ends, cause fuck Concept and fuck Keiji Inafune. Excising Mighty No. 9 and Red Ash from our brains like a petrified neuron, the real successor to Mega Man Legends is indie darling Delta Gal. Currently in development, but hosting a slick and exciting demo, Delta Gal has the aesthetics of the Mega Man Legends universe down pat. But the game also features a new and up-to-date modern control scheme, cause let's be honest, the controls in MML were not its selling point. Delta Gal has been in development for a few years, but I am excited to get my hands on the completed game. Being nostalgic for old games can be a little miserable sometimes, with hot properties that we love being relegated to the eternal dustbin of the cosmos, hello Shining Force 4. But it's the fans out here picking up the torch and moving forward. These old games won't be forgotten as long as there are super fans out here fighting to keep the names relevant, and I am here for it. Thank you for watching this little video. I hope you enjoyed it. Why not leave a comment below telling us what spiritual successors you are looking forward to? And if you liked the video, why not do all the YouTube stuff we always have to ask for unless YouTube shuts off the lights? Please like, subscribe, ring the bell, share, join our Discord, check out our Patreon, send a super thanks, drink a glass of water, realize it's getting into the hot months, realize hydration needs to be maintained at any cost. Put some ice cubes in the freezer. Put some bottles in the fridge. Kneel and pray to the hydration god Hydros, as he is a fickle and dripping god. That's all for me this week. I'm Richard for RPG Fortress. See you next time, and do not forget to hug a cat. Goodbye.